a healthy hive, a strong hive is a healthy hive. So that's what I look for. I look for the strength of my hive. I look for anything that I should be concerned about. I mark it down, come back, and if it's something that I need to keep a regulation on, I constantly check them. Because, like I said earlier, if you let a week go by without handling a problem, it might be too late, especially with the wax moths and the mites and all that stuff. They'll just completely wipe your hives out, and you're going to be upset, like I would be. So I look for brood patterns, I look for honey stores, I look for cells, queen cells, drone cells, to see how much of each one has. You don't have to lift up there. I look for anything that is concerning, whether it would be deformed bees. A lot of times you'll see wings that are deformed on your bees, and that's something that you really need to not take lightly. I look for any kind of wax moth damage or larva. I look for any kind of hive beetle or larva. Hive beetles, you know, I take them kind of lightly until it's too late. Then you really got to get on top of them, because they will just nonstop. The bees, they're so little that the bees are like, oh, hey, adios. You know, they're not causing a threat to the bees in their eyes. Okay, so we're going to open this hive up again. They seemed to be pretty nice earlier, and
a little more active now. We're getting a little more weather.
Yeah, well, they'll be all right. So if they start getting a little ugly, just kind of step back, and we'll shut them up and go someplace else.
How hot is that smoke? Is it hot? I mean, how hot is that? Okay, so it's not too much, but not... Okay, thank you.
I mean, you stick your finger down in there, it's going to burn you,
okay.
You know?
Right,
but
right.
Other than that...
What? As long as you don't get into this flame shooting,
I hear you.
I've had to do flame shooting. Then you got to redo it. I don't like getting stung.
Oh, thanks.
I don't either.
Other people.
We'll go for me first, I'm taller.
Here.
So basically, a healthy hive is going to have pollen stores, they're going to have honey stores, they're going to have brood, they're going to have a lot of bees that are constantly working. If you open up a hive and they just kind of stare at you, something's wrong. I'm going to be real honest. And it usually has to do with the queen. If bees aren't working and they just kind of stand there and fan at you, in my experience, the queen is gone. Something's happened to her, and it's time to replace a queen real quick. I don't like to see a lot of drones. I do like to see some drones. If I start seeing a lot of drones, it could mean two different things. One, it's time that they're going to think about swarming, or two, the queen's starting to become unfertile, and it's time to replace her there. Just because a queen lays this year doesn't mean she's going to come out the box and jam it up next year. So, I mean, it's hard to really, unless I would do different kinds of tests on my bees, like an alcohol test where I take bees and put them in alcohol and do a mite count on them. Some people do sugar roll or something like that. I do look at the structure that they're building. I comb the bees to see if there's any kind of deforming wings or any kind of body deformations, because it happens. I look to see if they're aggressive. Obviously they're not. They should be, especially today. And a lot of times, if it's a small hive, I like to try and find the queen to see how she's reacting. If she's kind of pushing through, moving through the cells at a pretty decent pace, she's good to go. I'm going to try and get another one out here. You can give too much smoke. You can get to a point where you smoke these ladies up enough, they're going to get ugly with you. Because, I mean, it just happens. I wouldn't like it, so they don't like it. So I try to do a little minimizing on the smoke. Just because they get angry and start to get aggressive, just because you smoke them, it's just going to make it worse, you know, for the most part. I do sprinkle a little bit on them just to see if it works. If it doesn't, then, you know, but there's all my hives, 99% of them aren't aggressive. So if they become aggressive, I've done something or they have something going on there. So it's one of those, hives are one of those things where you have to honestly pay attention to what it is. And you have to go through your whole checklist. Okay, is it, so their numbers are dwindling and the brood pattern's not very good. Well, obviously you know exactly what that is. If you do a mite test and you have an abnormal amount of mites, man, you better get on something, because there's some issues happening in there. If the queen's laying real good, in my hives personally, if my queen is laying so good, but that hive is still aggressive, there's only two reasons in my world what's going on. One, the night before, the bear rolled the hive down the hill and I had to set it back up. Or it's time to replace my queen, because I feel like that's a strain of some sort, unless it's a day like today. I mean, they're mean today anyway. They've been clammed up all week. So to identify a healthy hive and a strong hive, it takes more than just one day of getting in your hive. It takes looking at the frames and then going in a couple days later. That if you see something that concerns you, get back in there, open them up, check that same exact thing. If that thing has moved from this frame to this frame, then it's time to start going through a checklist of, okay, so the bees started acting this way, their numbers started dwindling, and they're acting weird. When I open them up, they're getting mean, more aggressive. They might not have a queen, you know. Get your queens marked, man. It's easy. I wish I did mine, you know. I even raise queens and I don't do mine. What the heck? Well, there's tools. The question is, how easy is it to mark a queen? It's real easy. There are tools out there that I think there's, I don't use this, but I think, and if somebody else knows, isn't there like a little tube that you stick her in and then push the plunger in and then you mark her like that? That's an easy way. I just grab mine and dot her head. It's easy. So when you open up your hive, you can look in and, oh, that fluorescent orange or pink or yellow spot shouldn't be there. Oh, that's the queen. It's easy.
What do you mark her with? Like paint?
It's like a magic marker to me, but I don't know what. Does anybody know what the? Do you know what it is? What it's called? What is? When we mark the queens, what is that called? It's like a magic marker, but what is there a name for it?
It's just a paint marker.
Paint, yeah.